Hello, hello. Welcome to Fempreneur True Confessions podcast. I know.
Hi,
we're
everyone.
always like should we start over?
No.
We can't. Oh, damn.
That's terrible. But I choked. Hi, everyone. I'm Laura. I am, and I own a virtual assistant agency, project management agency.
She had to remember who she was.
Right. I really forgot who I was. This is a great start to the show today. Oh my God.
Why do we do this on Monday? Why don't we pick a different day of the week, man?
I think Monday seems to be more entertaining. But I am Laura, and I own ODAA, and we are a virtual assistant project management agency that helps small businesses behind the scenes get all the stuff done that they need to get done, because we're all a bit crazy. So I clearly need my own. So that's who I am at ODAA, and Angelique is.
I am Angelique with Lady Powerhouse Solutions, and we do product and event management for women who are on fire and lighten up the world with their passion and drive. And we help them fulfill their mission in the most authentic way possible. Laura and I do really similar things. That's why we kind of connected. And we started this podcast because, well, hell, there just weren't that many podcasts out there that were talking about the real shit. The real stuff that women entrepreneurs are going through. We saw all these Instagram successes. We saw all the ads for let's earn 6 figures, let's earn 7 figures. Hell, I even took one. The point being, there was no model out there for this is how you fail well in your business, and learn from it and support each other. Stop competing with other women. They're not your competition. There's how many billions of people in this world, and more than enough to go around for everybody. And so that's what we were looking for. We weren't finding it. So when you don't find it, what do? You create it. And so we bring people on here that can model, share their stories, so other people can see, yeah, you can mess up, you can screw up, you can flub up, you can just procrastinate. One of my favorite guests so far was one of the very first guests. And at one point, it's the ballerina. What was her name?
Oh,
the dancer. Okay, we're blinking on her name. I can see her face because she goes,
Rachel.
What? Rachel Jinx.
Yep.
Just start your business. And that's what it boiled down to sometimes. Like, stop watching videos and planning and buying crap and do the thing. So having women on here besides ourselves who are transparent, and we talked a little bit about this the other day too, and that this episode, we were recording an episode last week that's going to air on Labor Day. We talked about the differences between transparency and vulnerability and authenticity and those things, right?
What it really means.
Yeah.
And we're pretty transparent. I know I'm an open book. I've kind of been that way myself. I'm like, oh, you give too much. But it was kind of one of those things where just being transparent like that, or being, just open, and it gets it out. Like when we talk about, like, I'm going through a spiritual healing and a journey and all those things, and releasing stuff, I realized how incredibly transparent I've been throughout most of my life. I'm kind of one of those that I am who I am, and today's a crazy day, or today's a day where I'm going to be all good and I'm going to actually, and then other days it's just like kind of in between. So I think I was always very transparent, but in what ways and how did it affect and what did I hide and do things. So it was really cool to really go through that and see that, because I think we think transparency sometimes means that vulnerability, or how far do you go, and what, how much is it? So, but that one will be coming up on Labor Day. So
yeah, don't miss that one. Michelle DeKaiser. Did I say that right?
DeKaiser. Yeah.
So just so you know, it was recorded, but hey, we need a day off, right? Every once in a while. So that's who we are, what we do, why we do the podcast, and we always have fantastic guests. Man, the universe just lines them up for us. We don't even have to solicit that much. Like, we send out emails to people that we run across, like, oh, you'd be a great podcast guest, or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's gotten to the point where, fortunately for us, we have people coming to us and finding us, and that feels great. And then we have these guests that line up. And today's guest is no exception. I have to be honest. I adore this girl, this woman, and admire her so very, very much. And I mean, I met her one time in person and immediately just felt like, you are the bomb.com. Like, she had that kind of energy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was like, come sit by me. Come sit by me.
Energy.
I did. I was like, come sit by me.
All right.
So anyway, today's
You want to bring her on? All right. Well, I'm going to introduce her. I'll give her information. So we are bringing on Rain. Rain is an earth warrior, is spiritual healer, interdisciplinary artist, and sustainable investor. As a conscious leader and activist, she is dedicated to integrating health, spirit, and community to restore the earth, support wildlife, and heal humanity. Guided by unconditional love, Rain values truth, collaboration, and holistic evolution. Good Lord, here we go.
It's Monday.
I know. Having overcome significant personal challenges, including mental illness and abuse, Rain has traveled the world, created businesses, and found her true path, all before turning 22. I thought you were young. She believes in living as spiritual beings, having a human experience with a purpose to love, spread truth, and evolve collectively. Rain's work is rooted in heart-led service, environmental stewardship, and fulfilling her soul's purpose while helping others do the same.
Mm-hmm.
Rain, we're so glad to have you. I was gonna ask how young you were, and then I didn't, and I'm not gonna ask on here. You gave an indicator. But I was like, you're so young.
But it feels like she has crammed in all these lifetimes already, and all the growth. And I believe wholeheartedly all of the things that I've gone through, the trauma, and the healing that happens afterwards. I am so freaking happy for you, because you are where I would have loved to have been at your age. Like, where I'm at now is where I would have loved to have been earlier. So I didn't make some of those stupid mistakes, you know?
Yeah.
So, I just,
it's like when we're older and we're like, we pray that the younger generation will listen. And it's like, you kind of did. And it's like, oh my gosh. Yeah. I have a 20. He's 20. Huh? Marquise just turned 20 a couple weeks ago. So I have a 20-year-old now. And there are moments where I'm like, this generation that he's in and the ones coming up after him are so different than what we were. You can like see like even just a difference in how they act and behave and how they think. And they're so open to so much more that we were so closed off to growing up in our, in my generation, Gen X. I'm a Gen Xer. So, but yeah, I know that it was much different. So it's really exciting to see the younger generation really starting to make those changes and come into their leadership and their presence and their power, and really, really be there, because you guys are the change makers. Your generation, the one coming in after you guys, things are changing with you guys, and it's so exciting to see. So,
and I see it too even in my grandkids that are now, my oldest grandson, it turns 18 tomorrow. And he's got 4 siblings and younger than him, and seeing them, growing up and I brought my daughters up a certain way, very independent. Like, you don't have to ask permission, just a whole different upbringing than I had.
Mhm.
And did I make mistakes? Absolutely. I'm not saying I was the perfect mom by any means. I should have my daughters on the podcast sometime and let them just air our dirty laundry. It'd be so much fun. Um, I was the mom that was like, unless you're bleeding, you don't get a band-aid. Like, are you
Right.
bleeding? You're fine. Go away. Like I was not one of those coddlers at all or helicopter moms. At least I don't think so. I could be wrong.
We weren't sensitive. We used to giggle in our house that weekends. I'd be like, okay, you all play like you do, but we don't do emergency rooms. So Monday will be the day you will suffer. And they used to stop and really think about it now. We know that that wouldn't have been the truth, but they understood, just you can take all the risks you want, but we're
Yeah.
not the most sensitive family in the world. So unless you're gushing blood or something like that, yeah, we're just going to be like, rub it
Yeah.
off. You know?
Yeah. So I feel like, so my daughters are in their 30s, and Rain, I know you're a little younger than that.
Yeah.
So it's encouraging to see that generation. For instance, your first story that you're going to share about collaborating versus competition, like this never would have happened during my generation. Like, so one of the things that Rain did was, well, let's talk about it. You do womb healing and cyclical living, or this was something you did before?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I do it in my own life. It's not one of the main things I offer, but I'm constantly doing it within myself.
Yeah. And so you were learning about that. You had a coach, and you did a webinar, right?
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Yeah. So I got into it from this lady who was my coach, my cyclical coach. As I started tapping into my womb, I was like, whoa, there's a lot to be worked with here. And invested in a coach with this. And it changed my life so much that I started sharing it. And just naturally, as I was sharing my other life coaching stuff and different offers, I was like, oh, this is something that I could add to my list of offers. This is a way that I could help other women. So I offered a free webinar to talk about the basics of cyclical living and womb healing. And it was a good turnout. It was so many amazing women and womb holders who came together for that. And it was so exciting to share that information to people. Some people had some experience, some people it was completely new for them. And then at the end, when I was making the presentation, I was like, what's my call to action? Because in business, we always have to have that call to action.
Yeah.
What's next? So I was like, I don't know. Like, should I offer one-on-ones for this work? Should I add that as the call to action so I can start teaching this more? And I kind of sat with that and I was like, in the business sense and what I've learned in some of these more masculine coaching containers that I've invested in is that yes, I should offer this like high ticket offer at the end and bring in more business, grow my business. And my body and my truth was telling me like, hey, why should I offer this just because I think I should? Why not do something differently? So I talked to my coach at the time and I was like, what if I promote you? Like, what if I, at the end of my webinar, say, here's my coach, go sign up with her because she's inspired me in this work and I love what she does. She's changed my life. She could change your life. I don't have to change your life. She can. And she was all for it. She was like, yeah, we can do like a promo code and we set up a little link. And it felt so right. My mind was like, wait, this doesn't make sense. Why am I promoting her? Like the whole point is kind of to
Feels counterintuitive.
Yeah, like funnel people in for your business. I'm like doing the free webinar to funnel people to her business. But it felt so right. I was like, yes, this is she can help them, and I know that. And I had at least one person, I haven't checked in to see if anyone else has, at least one person signed up with her, and it made me so happy to hear that. I was like, oh my gosh, like, so happy that she went to her and they started working together. And like you said, it's like this counterintuitive in the business world that doesn't make sense. And the confirmation that I felt and experienced through that was like, wow, we actually do get to support each other. And I'm not meant, at least at this time in my life, to offer cyclical living coaching or womb healing. Yes, I can teach about it. Yes, I can talk about it, but that's not my path right now. And I wouldn't have known that if I tried to offer it just because I thought I should.
Yeah. And I loved what you said before, that you were kind of bucking the system, right? Because you're funneling business to her instead of to yourself. And the time investment, the energy investment you made by creating a webinar and doing it. But at the same time, it felt right. And I think that there's a level of wisdom and maturity there when you can recognize, oh, yeah, I could offer this, but I know she could do it better at this point. Right. And I've been in that situation too, where a former client came to me and says, I want to do this. And I'm like, well, that's not exactly one of my strengths. I can do it for you, but I'm going to need some help.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's where transparency comes in. Like, I'll be transparent with you. I could do this for you. But there's probably somebody out there that could do it better. But because she says, but I feel more comfortable working with you because I've worked with you before. And I said, I absolutely understand that. In that case, I would suggest that we do a consult with a consultant that specializes in this that I've used before. So she hasn't come back to me yet, but, she came back to me once before. I know that by being honest and transparent with her, that created a better relationship than if I said, yeah, I can do it, and then struggled with it and didn't get her the best outcome she could get.
Yeah. I know that there's customer or clients that come in or conversations, and I've had the same ones where it's like, oh yeah, that's probably not the best thing for us, but I know the person for it, or I know where I can get you what you need with someone I trust, because then it's, you at least know that you're helping them. That exchange in itself, that willingness, to be real about that, it always makes it, I always feel like once that happens, there'll be a successful transition. There'll be something there because it was something where it was an exchange. We are growing other people. We're being honest about who we are and what we're capable of,
Yeah, and it's that ripple effect of what you give out comes back. And so I got to give out that transparency, even though in the moment that wasn't financially benefiting me or benefiting my business. It was integrity. It was
truth. So it does benefit you and your business because now you're known for your integrity by everyone who attended that webinar.
Right.
And that energy exchange, we always think about money and what we're going to do, and it costs this much, it's this to do, and and what's our cost. Like, we're always thinking in those terms, and we tend to forget that sometimes just that exchange of energy it's money too. It really is that.
It's all energy exchange. It's just they put a monetary value on some of it.
And that's the abundance, because money is just the label of one element of abundance, and abundance.
Yes. Let's talk about that, the abundance mindset, because I love what you said, that it's a way of being. Abundance is not just a mindset, but a way of being. And so I'd love for you to talk more about that.
Yeah. So this is a perfect opportunity to kind of take in what we just took in. Have you guys ever heard of Victoria Washington or the House of We?
No.
Absolutely amazing. She's this super powerful, embodied woman who teaches about wealth embodiment, and she has this subscription called the House of We, so the House of Wealth Embodiment. And that kind of foundation of the abundance being a state of being that I learned from her in one of her free giveaways that changed my life, or just free offerings. And it's along the lines of money is the object, wealth is the relationship, and abundance is the state of being. I might have butchered that a little bit, but that's kind of like
The vibe.
yeah, the basis of it. And it's so interesting because it's so different than how we are taught about money, and it's such a beautiful initiation to step into. Okay, I don't have to do anything to be in a state of being. So to step into that abundance, that's exactly what it is. It's a frequency, it's a vibration, it's something you can access anytime. And through that state of being in abundance, you can then cultivate this relationship with the object of money instead of the other way around, where people are like, I need more money, and then I'm abundant. Is that land? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Your audio is going in and out a little bit, but I think we got the gist of it. She's going to move closer. You have great skin, okay? That got that going for you. Yeah. So I do. We're big on that abundance mindset, and that it is about a frequency and a vibration and being in it. So we'll drop the Victoria Washington stuff. If you have any links you want to send us,
Yeah.
For her, especially if they're affiliate links or anything, that otherwise I'm just going to go out and Google it and drop it in the show notes for everybody. But I am completely intrigued. Laura and I have a mutual client. It's Laura's client. I help out. And she talks about being in choice. And that's what what immediately came to mind was it's a choice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you choose to be in an abundant frequency, an abundant state of being? Or do you choose to be whiny and, oh, poor me, and I'm so broke, and that is a state of being.
Yeah.
Now, feeling that in the moment, feeling those whoa, and when it comes on, feeling it and sitting in it and being okay with it, but not getting lost and drowned in it. I think we get confused with, especially in the spiritual world. And I did this at first, like everything's got to be positive.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, that toxic positivity is not
right. It got so hard. And then somebody was just like, you have to face still all your demons. You still got your demons. You're okay to sit in sadness. You're okay to sit in depression. You're okay to sit in it for a second, feel it, understand it, and let go of it. We're not saying don't get into that. Don't ever have those moments. That's impossible. But it's how long you stay there. And the longer you practice it, where you're like, okay, get it, understand it, I could see where this might be a lesson. And then you kind of move through that. It gets less and less each time. I've definitely noticed, as going through the past traumas with, and then dealing with all that. And now when things come up, my reaction to it is still there. Like I still have the same reaction, but I am more clear on how to deal with that reaction, if I'm going to allow it to sit within me and become a part of me again, or if I'm just going to be like, I understand it, I'm sitting with it for as long as I need, and then I will let it go so it doesn't become my whole world,
Yeah. Like what is this teaching me? What is the lesson I need to learn here? There are some lessons that I've gone through over and over and over in my life because, well, I didn't learn the lesson the first time. Because I didn't stop and reflect, like why I just bitched and complained and ran away instead of facing and sitting with it and going, okay, what is this trying to teach me? And that has been like a huge, just a growth, a huge part of my growth, has been being able to look at situations that I don't like being in, that are uncomfortable, and going, okay, why is this uncomfortable? What is the universe trying to teach me here?
Yeah.
Especially if I've been in that situation before, it feels familiar. I'm like, okay, let's not do this again. Three's a charm or whatever. One of the things I really want you to talk about, Rain, is your first business that you grew. And this chick, this is what I love. I want you to talk about how you didn't go to college. You went straight from high school, and you didn't go to college. So, and I think, so I have one daughter that did and one that didn't. And actually, you remind me a lot of my younger daughter. Just your whole vibe and everything. I need to hook you guys up because I think you guys would jam. She's a little older than you, but
most of my friends are, so it's okay.
You're an old soul. I really think you are.
Yeah. And I clap for that, and I don't want anybody to misdo that. If college is for you, yay. College was not my thing. I was done. I was absolutely school.
Was I the one going, you need to go to college, you need to go to, yes, I was, because that's what it was told to me.
Right.
And but I was also like, all right, well, if you don't feel like college is the thing for you, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah. So I applaud that only because it's your path, and I that was why I don't want to misconstrue that I'm against college. I'm not. If it's for you, yay. But there's a lot more surrounding that now, especially for your generation and stuff. So, yay, that wasn't your path and you chose your path.
So your mom was supportive, or no?
She was similar to you in the sense of she wanted me to go to college because that's what she was taught, and it kind of goes back to what we were talking about before with the abundance of like, it's really just realizing that we have a choice. And in our society, college is so much not a choice. It's like, this is what you do.
This is what you do.
And so for me, it's ironic. I loved school.
Me too.
And I loved learning. I was like top of my class in high school. So for me to be the one in my friend group and in my grade who decided not to go to college was like, what? Like, I was like, wait, what? And it all stemmed because I wanted to travel. So my junior year, I went on Google and I researched study abroad in high school. And I went through like every page of Google and I was like, I am going to find something. So I read through all these different study abroad programs, and I knew my parents wouldn't pay for it. So I ended up finding programs through the U.S. government that were completely funded. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna apply. Let's see what happens. So I applied to this government-funded program, and I got accepted. And so I don't know how much I told my parents along the process. I was like, I'm gonna do it, and then tell them, because they can't tell me I can't go.
Don't ask permission, beg forgiveness later.
Yeah. So I had to drop out of my high school because they didn't know how to handle the credit and all this stuff, which again, ironic because it's like through the government, to go to Germany my senior year. So I left senior year, I left prom, I left graduation, all these things to go to Germany. I didn't know anything about Germany. I didn't know German, but I wanted to travel. And living in Germany, I had a local host family. I went to a German high school, complete immersion in the language. I learned it so quickly. I still know it. It baffles my mind that I can still speak German, even though I don't speak it normally. And I was like, I cannot go back to the United States and sit in a classroom for 4 years. Like, I just learned more in 3 months, and it was a year-long program. I just learned more in 3 months than I have in my entire life. And my high school couldn't give me credit for it because of the system. So for me to go back, have to finish high school, and then go even deeper into the system for 4 more years, I just couldn't do it. And I went through this journey of like, okay, now I have to tell my parents that. I'm like in Germany calling them, hey, I'm not going to go to college. And my mom's like, yeah, you are. And I'm like, no. Like, I'll just stay in Germany. I don't know. I'll figure it out. And so I went back on Google and I was like, what do you do if you don't go to college? And I learned about entrepreneurship and I learned about investing and I started watching videos and just realizing that there was a different path. It wasn't talked about a lot, but it was there and people had stories and had resources online, and that I got to make that choice to go down that path and to figure it out.
Mhm. And my son was clear. He struggled through school. We had things we had to deal with for him, and so when school ended, he was pretty clear that college was not going to happen. And he had valid reasoning. Like, one, that debt is unnecessary. If he's not interested, if he didn't want to do it, it was going to be difficult and a struggle, and to pay for college and go through all that and have all that debt and still feel like you're not where you need to be. And I don't know an 18-year-old that is truly secure in what they want to be right now, So I'm like, okay, we knew school wasn't going to be that, but financially, and then just more was he just doesn't know. Like, he really just doesn't. The way regular society is, he's seen me and his dad being corporate for 25 years. His dad is so far, so he's seen the other side of that. I know that's great, and he knows there's money there. When we've never talked, it's like, this is this amazing life. I have this wonderful career in corporate. Like, you've never heard that, and
Right.
that's you're pushed to, right? So, at least not from us. Others have had great experiences. I'm happy for them. But it was that he just didn't. He was just like, I don't know, and not paying for college when you don't know what you want to do, and that kind of, I'm all for that. Like,
Yeah.
it's so crazy what these young kids have to now deal with,
Navigate. Yeah.
and they are opening up. I do realize that the schools are saying, college is not for you. They are guiding in other ways, which we were begging for even when I was in school. Like, if I don't want to go to college, then what? What do you mean?
Like, no, that's not an option. You go to college. And you're right. That is a systemic conditioning, like even within the school systems, they were preparing you for college instead of preparing you for entrepreneurship or life.
Just choice, like options.
And then you get your worth on that because you spend your whole time. They're like, you didn't get a degree, so we're going to pay you less because you're worth less. We're going to do this because you're worth less. Like, if you didn't do it, they then started building into you that you're never going to get too far because you're worth less without that degree. That was a horrible block for me to get through. When I realizing my worth, it was that bit of stuff, all that time of telling me over and over and over again that you didn't get a degree, which means you're not going to get as much. Well, I did like experience. I went to the same level as a cousin who had a master's degree through experience. I worked the trenches at, when working.
I love how Rain's just sitting there smiling and nodding like, you're preaching to the choir, lady.
I was going to say, my mom, when I first told her, she was like, what are you going to do? Like, work at a McDonald's? Like, her mind was so conditioned that if it wasn't college, it was McDonald's. And I was like, I'm going to buy the damn McDonald's, make it like vegan, make it regenerative, like have all these businesses. Like, there's so many other things. Why does it have to be this or worthless, this or something? And even people who do work at McDonald's, like, people go to college and work at McDonald's. So, and there's nothing wrong with that either. Like, that's their path.
And so did you start your business in Germany or in the U.S.?
In the U.S.
Okay, so you came back and then started your business.
Yeah, so I had to finish high school because I had to de-enroll because they wouldn't give me credit. So I came back, and sadly, my exchange year was during COVID, or it was 2019 to 2020. So we all got sent home early because of COVID. That was so heartbreaking. But it was also silly because everyone was like, you're leaving high school year, you're going to miss prom, you're going to miss graduation. And everyone
came back just in time. Oh, no, yeah, that's right.
Else missed it. I was like, okay. So yeah, I finished school online and started working. I started like nannying and doing some pet care stuff, and then I started organically building a pet care business. Not intentionally, it just started happening. Um, and I didn't realize that until I kind of looked back and I was like, wait, like I'm sustaining myself off of this. I'm my own boss. I'm making more money than all of the people who are in college right now. Like, whoa, that is cool.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
just fell into it. It's not like it was this, I'm gonna sit down and build this. It
Yeah,
built it.
because I loved animals and I was like trying different things. That was my whole thing. I was like, if I'm not going to go to college, I now have 4 years to explore what I want to do by actually trying it, not by sitting in a classroom and learning about it, because I loved learning about everything. I was like, I need to be on the grounds, I need to be in experiences and seeing if I enjoy things or if I don't, and see where that leads me. And so I was like doing nannying, and I did random DoorDash stuff, and I started pet care very on the side, and then it just kind of grew, and I was like, oh, I love this. I'm getting paid to hang out with animals, to stay in people's homes. Like I did house sitting, so I got to stay in their homes. They let me eat all their food. I got to hang out with animals. I got to exercise, be outside, and I was getting paid. I was like, what the heck?
Yeah.
So
And
it
then
grew and
you
grew.
found a coach and you started working with a coach. And one
Mhm.
of the things that stuck out for me was, well, two things. So you said at one point your pet care clients started paying you more than you were charging. And I was like, okay, there's that embodiment of abundance. And also the fact that you learned your lesson, what you brought out of it was to trust your heart, to follow your purpose, and to do the thing from service, not need. And I was like, this girl she's honest. She's way ahead of me. I mean, not anymore, but at that age, hell yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was such like a symbolic experience. I still remember the day that it happened, and it was after I started working with this coach and clearing up limiting beliefs and just really diving into healing. And the more I healed and had more capacity to hold in general, which is something that Victoria Washington talks about, the more that you feel, the more you can have. When you feel it all, you can have it all. So it's like abundance mindset. If I have more capacity to hold my emotions and to hold my past experiences and my current experiences, then I have more capacity to hold wealth or money. And I had rates for my pet care, and then I would go and they'd leave me extra. And I was like, and I already raised my rates. Like I was like, well, okay, I'm like kind of doing business here. I have the experience now to charge a bit more. And after I charged more, they paid me more. And I was like, whoa. Like it felt like such a clear message of like, it doesn't really matter about this specific pet care job, about this specific person. Like you're doing the work on yourself, you're expanding your capacity, you will be provided for.
That's neat. That is really cool.
Beautiful. Yes.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's so we're almost out of time, but we always like to ask if there were one story or piece of advice that you would give your younger self. And I don't know, maybe when you were 5, I don't know, how would that work for you? Like most of the time we're talking to women our age or a little younger, and they can go, oh, well, when I was 18, I cared too much about this, that, and the other thing. And I'm talking to you going, she's already passed all that, but you're a great example. And so I think you have a really powerful message to your generation that they don't have to follow the quote unquote traditional conditioned systemic routes and still be happy and fulfilled. Does that mean that it's been smooth sailing, right?
No, absolutely not.
Right. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, this actually came up while you were speaking earlier of just like a lot of people I meet are older than me. I go to conventions. I've done a lot of mentorships. I've been in groups, and I've very commonly been the youngest person there. And that's just been, I've kind of rode that high. I'm like, oh no, one day I'm not going to be the youngest person. I'm making the most of it while it is. And it's interesting to observe people's reactions to my age, because some people are impressed, and then some people have expectations about me immediately when they realize how old I am. And my experience is that I am where I am because I have leaned into so much. Like, I've gone into the depths, and you guys talk about failure a lot, or you women. I don't like to say guys all the time. We're so conditioned to saying that. Um, talk about failure a lot on this podcast, and I 100% would not be where I am if I haven't failed. And it's beyond failure too. It's going into the depths, going into the discomfort in terms of healing and trauma work, and with entrepreneurship, taking risks and leaning into fear. And I've chosen that path so many times that I guess it has just excelled where I've ended up at this age. But that means I've also experienced so many depths, like so much pain and so much discomfort and so much uncertainty and so much judgment from others and judgment of myself and all the things that people don't want to experience. I lean into those because when you feel it all, you can have it all. Because when you expand your capacity of the quote unquote good and the bad, it expands your capacity in general. So no, it has not been smooth sailing. And that's the very peace, that it gets to be peaceful through all the waters, through all the sailing.
Yeah. And it's like the the saying that it's so much easier to enjoy the good times when you've been through the really hard times. And I someone said to me at one point when I was going through a really rough patch, and it's always stuck with me, that this, it's like a pendulum, and right now you're way back here and it feels horrible, but understand when it comes back into the positive, it's going to be just as high, just as fantastic, if not higher, if you're building momentum, if you lean into it. And if you lean into it, then you'll build momentum, and it'll be a greater return.
Yeah.
And
if we think about it from, like, for our age, once we started coming through to this, there was so much more to work through. There's so many more years. So coming in your generation and coming in and saying, hey, right now, there's a whole lot less to work through. You don't have 40 years of shit where you're like, okay, my 20 years of shit, and I can face that a little bit quicker with a little bit open mind because of how the world is now. And it's amazing because your generation needs that. They don't need to spend all this time and then all of a sudden in their, 30s, 40s, 50s come into this realization that there's a whole lot there that you've got to now face and fix and change. But it's really amazing because that your generation is really for that. They're making those changes. This is nonsense. We don't want to do this. We don't want to live like this. We don't want to be like this. And you have so much it's a quicker jump into it to get past the shit that you learned as a kid, because we all fuck up as parents, and then and fix that and get out there and stuff. And I love that because the sooner you can do it, the less that your life will look so much like it has. I think the older generation,
well, not supposed to, but like that calling, what you were meant to do, your purpose on this earth in this life. The closer you get to that, the more fulfilled you feel. At least that's what I have experienced. I know you, Rain, you just went through a transition, and I'm curious because I don't know. Where are you headed right now? What's next for you? Do you know, or are you still kind of in flux?
It's interesting because I know and I also don't. And I think that's the most beautiful part because I just went through this really crazy, traumatic, and expansive experience. And I've kind of been measuring my life of like everything before that experience and everything after because it changed absolutely everything. And before that experience, I always thought I knew where I was going. I had my business plans, I had my ideas, I had my passions, I knew what lit me up. After the experience, I went through like 2 weeks where I didn't know anything. I didn't know what was up, what was down. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know anything. And so slowly kind of easing back into reality, so to say, I've been dancing on the fine line of I don't want to decide where I'm going because how can we ever fully know? Yes, I can have a direction. Yes, I can again lean into what feels good in each moment and to have or to attach to a destination just doesn't work for me anymore because the world has shooken up so much to be like that's not going to get you where you're meant to be. So it's kind of that surrender. I know that I'm meant to speak more. I'm meant to guide and lead and help people heal and heal myself and to heal the earth. So it's cool to see how a lot of my values before this crazy chaotic experience I had, the right values, they came through. They continue. They're still here. And so many things faded away. So I get to see with each moment, with each day, like, where am I going?
Yeah.
Let's see.
It gives you a lot of clarity when you go through the fire and that Phoenix Rising moment. It strips you down and it makes you realize who your people really are.
Yeah.
And who they're
you
not,
really are.
and
Yeah.
who you really are. And yeah, so I highly encourage you listeners to check in with Rain and check out her Patreon community. We'll drop the links in the show notes. She also offers a free clarity call for anyone that's interested in coaching, healing, community collaboration, art, investing. Girl, you got it going on. We'll drop all of her links again in the show notes and join her email list. And she also has a free story shout out. If you DM her on Instagram, and we'll drop that info in the show notes too. I am just so grateful for that we crossed paths. I believe that while it was a painful experience, that I don't know. It just feels like, I hate to say it, but it's something we need to go through sometimes.
Oh yeah.
It can't all be rainbows and unicorns.
I'm so grateful for the amount of pain and fear, just the depths that I went through. Like a couple months later, I'm so grateful for that experience. And people can't comprehend when I say that sometimes. They're like, what? And I'm like, oh my God, it's brought me here and I'm more me and I'm more alive than I've ever been. So
yeah.
I wouldn't trade the experience for anything, no matter how hard it gets and all those things. I agree.
Okay, I know this is a little down the rabbit hole, but I feel like this is relevant.
Yes.
Okay.
Yesterday, I'm in the car with my girlfriend. We're driving. And I met her a few years ago through a mutual friend that I met on Facebook. And I was like, well, man, if you didn't go through that bad relationship with that guy, you never would have met our mutual friend, which means we never would have met. And she's like, well, no, wait a minute. And she started going back and tracing. Well, I met him because I met her, and I met her because I met her, and she introduced me to her, and I met her through. She goes, you're right. That asshole that she went through a really bad time with brought so much goodness into her life through the friendships that she still has. And we're besties. Like, we're like, I just had major surgery, and my insurance didn't have home health. This woman moved in with me for weeks to help me. We consider each other family. And, you know, I'm so grateful for her. And so in that respect, I have to be grateful that she met that jerk, and I met the mutual friend. And, you know, I'm closer with her than I am with him.
Yeah.
You know, but, you know, it's just,
it all leads us to where we're meant to be.
Supposed to be. Yeah.
Yeah, better.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Well, Laura, I kind of trounced on, you usually do the freebies, but it when she started talking about that, I'm like, you guys need to check out this and this and this and this. So one of the things we like to do is have the current guest introduce next week's guest. And again, I'm just so excited about next week's guest. So Rain, are you ready to introduce our next guest?
Yes, I am, and I'm so honored, and I love that you've created this structure in this way where we can connect the community and support one another. So thank you for allowing me to. Kalina, who will be on next week, is a deaf coach and advocate, a podcast speaker, a best-selling author, and a passionate entrepreneur on a mission to help young adults with disabilities achieve their goals while also educating others about the deaf community. What makes her story even more incredible is that Kalina is actually a hard of hearing person who lost 100% of her hearing at the age of 4. Being hard of hearing hasn't stopped her from pursuing her dreams, including gaining her bachelor's degree in psychology from York University and postgraduate certificate in mental health and addiction, becoming a life coach, and an Amazon best-selling author with her first book, Every Day I Am Just Deaf. Kalina encourages everyone that no matter what your circumstances are, you can have everything you want in life. She continues to overcome the many challenges of living in a hearing world. Her message is clear. Never let one person stop you from achieving your dreams.
Agreed.
So I love that. I have a sister who's pretty much gone deaf, and I had troubles as a child, and when I loved it. I love sign language. I will sit there and stare. I have no idea. I know parts of it. And it's rude to be in their conversations, but I'll get into a trance mode where I'll just stare. It's fascinating to me in the deaf community because they feel music, and it's such a connection. I had said, oh gosh, if I couldn't listen to music, but not being able to hear and having those things as younger, you feel it in the way that they live in the world and how they feel things. I'm always so excited. I guess I'm a weirdo with that, but I'm always so excited around deaf people. It's the weirdest thing. I love it. It fascinates me because I just don't. You don't comprehend it, you don't have it. But yeah, the way that they seem to go through life fascinates me. Driving was one of it. How do deaf people drive? And my sister reminded me, she's like, they can see lights long before we can hear them sometimes. So there's not a safety issue. When you're little, you think, but yeah. So fascinating. So excited to have her on.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to talking to her. Because I even mentioned to Laura, I'm like, I wonder if we need to do anything special. She would tell us if we needed to do anything special, make accommodations or whatever. But so we're really looking forward to her next week. And we still, the only announcement we have is we still have sponsorships available. We're still rolling those out and getting those scheduled. So if you're interested in sponsoring, you can get a free week sponsorship. Go check it out, learn how to get that, and just go to our links, and it's all there. Email us if you have any questions, and we will be back next week, Monday at 12 Eastern. See you guys.